Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about highly sensitive people and rebuilding self-trust. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new, please click the little subscribe button, the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. This is my little saint. We call him Sainty Bear, right baby? He likes to join my videos nowadays, so I'm not mad about that. So we want to dive right into this subject. Highly sensitive people normally, usually, always have self-doubt. We have self-doubt because we're born into a society that tells us the way that we feel is different, is wrong, is sometimes dysfunctional or disordered. So here's the thing. I just started building this new course now about unhealed empaths and attention dial to a higher dimension, which is ADHD, right? I talk about this a lot, but many highly sensitive people have been diagnosed with this or think that they have this. And if they do or don't, it doesn't matter. The point is, we as a collective need to understand that our self-trust and our sense of self has been totally jaded by a society that is flawed. Sorry, not you. And I know this is a big statement to make, but I kind of feel like I have to these days because, being one of those people that grew up feeling different, misunderstood to the max. I was a truth teller that oftentimes would find myself in situations where people couldn't hear the truth. A lot of people in this universe, let's just say, grow up and decide instead of owning their truth because it's too hard to do in a society that tells you to be a certain way and not who you really are, we decide to be in denial. And those of us who are kind of born being like really connected to what we feel, but also so hypervigilant about things that we just can see and feel everything, and then we just want to tell the truth, and then we get told that we're wrong or bad for telling the truth because then it'll make someone else have to take responsibility, or else it might shine a light on a narcissistic system or family. You're scapegoated, you're gaslit, and you're told you're wrong. So we're kind of born into an emotionally inept society that doesn't allow us to be who we truly are. It tells us that what you're feeling is wrong, what you're needing is too much, and how you're reacting is not okay, right? So a lot of highly sensitive people grow up with this extreme self-doubt. I was one of those kids for a while. And we're confused about it because we know what we feel, we know what we see, and we're constantly being told we're wrong. So then we just think there's something wrong with our feelings and wrong with our perception of reality. And then we have this identity crisis. A lot of us also have an existential crisis where we're like, wait, where's God? Where's the universe? Where's spiritual law when this is what's happening to me? And in my own journey, I've learned to, through, doing all this crazy inner work, learn to lift up into another perspective that there is societal ideals and then there are universal laws. And I talk about this a lot, but most highly sensitive people feel very connected to spiritual laws, universal laws, when you start learning about them, because they show you the truth of who you are and how you're not wrong, but perhaps the society you're born into has some work to do. Most of us, I've learned, are born to be the change. We need to be more empathic and feelers in this world. That is the next paradigm. And if you're born like that already, usually because you're born into some sort of contrast, which makes you more hypervigilant and highly sensitive. Sometimes you're just born highly sensitive. It doesn't really matter if you're born that way or created that way. The truth is, you are that way. And so when you're growing up highly sensitive and you're not having that mirrored, it's incredibly traumatic and scary. And there's a lot of inner wounds that happen. The self-doubt is a huge one. The, self-sabotage, the not trusting yourself, putting your golden parts of you in the shadow, all of these things where we feel powerless is not okay, and it needs to come back. And that self-trust piece is the pinnacle of that happening. So how do we regain the self-trust when we've been in a society that has taught us not to trust our feelings, not to trust what we need, not to own our boundaries? Well, we have to do a lot of boundary work, inner boundaries, outer boundaries, and energetic boundaries, which you can find in my Boundaries Bootcamp course, which is coming out soon. But the inner work is the key to re-owning. So the first step, people always ask me, how do I even come back to myself at all? And I say the first step is getting real about how you feel, right? I feel like shit. Now, here's the thing. You can't judge yourself for how you feel because, number one, it's not your fault. And most highly sensitive people come to me and they're very mad at themselves for not being able to keep themselves. They're mad at themselves for not being able to believe in themselves. And I say, why the hell would you be mad at yourself? There is a reason you can't trust yourself, and that reason isn't you. And most people will say, I don't know. Well, the answer is because you don't want to feel powerless. Powerlessness is that victim mentality where we feel like someone made us unable to own ourselves. But that is actually what happened. That is actually what happened. And when you can own that and say, okay, it's not my fault that I couldn't have confidence. It's not my fault that I didn't know how to believe in myself or trust in myself or keep myself. It's not my fault. You can then say, I did the best that I could at the time, but now I'm really going to try to own it. How do I do that? Well, by being real about how you feel. In the moment, it might be I'm in resentment about the fact that I've lost a lot of years of not loving myself because no one taught me how. That's a real issue that a lot of people have. I had that. I had the issue of not being able to hold on to my authentic self in the face of opinions, right? The God of opinion, in the face of rejection or even perceived rejection. Not being able to own my opinion, not being able to own my choices, not being able to make choices. All of these things come from a lack of self-trust. And what I've learned by doing so much of this work, that last piece of the puzzle is simply deciding, literally giving yourself the permission to own everything that you do, to make choices, stick with those choices. And if they're wrong, not making yourself stupid or crazy or whatever, but saying, well, I made that choice and I own that choice and I stuck with that choice. And that choice was wrong because I didn't understand X, Y, Z. Then you're more authentic. Okay, I didn't understand that. Great. But what we do is we say, I didn't understand that. What's wrong with me for not understanding? Self-judgment. What I've learned is to make big decisions and choices and then be so on my own team that if they end up not so great, you know what? At least I was all in. Being all in with something is so much more powerful than being, I'm not sure. I don't know what to do. When we're in that state of not trust, we've got no power at all. We're totally powerless because we're at the whim of, I don't know. How do I figure this out outside of me? The only way we start to build that self-trust is to make decisions, stick with them, see them through, and not judge ourselves if it goes wrong. Just open up and say, wow, I learned. You can't learn shit unless you make a decision and trust. You can't. If you're always on the fence because you don't want to be wrong, how many of you can relate to this? I don't know what to do. I don't know what decision to make because I just don't want to be wrong. Why? Because you were taught when you were young that you can't trust what you feel. So coming back to self is deciding to trust what you feel, even if it is wrong. And the reason we're afraid to make decisions and trust ourselves is because if we're wrong, then there's something wrong with me. But if you understand that there was never anything wrong with you in the first place, then it doesn't matter if you make a wrong decision. It's just learning. It's not self-defining. Think about that. So the road back to self for highly sensitive people is to learn to trust yourself again by just making a decision, going with it, and knowing that if it's wrong, it's just a pivot. It has nothing to do with who you are or what you're not. So I hope this message finds you well, you guys. I'm so excited. Inner work is starting now. So get on that list, sign up for that course, join me with 4 other people, small ass group to do the inner work, to really reclaim your trust in self and owning your truth and living your truth and feeling like you're a walking, talking version of complete integrity with yourself, with who you are. And that ownership alone, by the way, you don't need opinions from other people. You need to decide that I'm giving myself permission to just be me. That's it. So take the leap. Hopefully I'll see many of you guys soon. Have a great week.